Welcome back, everyone. And have you ever thought about, maybe playing a more aggro version of fours? Also, have you ever thought about playing a little bit more control into that? Well, I think I found a solution for that. This started out with a idea that I wanted to make a more aggro version of fours with agility and a little bit lower attack, but with cards like Kenshin and stuff to work. And then the more I started diving into cards, I noticed that you could add a little bit of control to that aggro. So it becomes more of a control version of an aggro deck, and it's pretty fun. And it plays fast. It plays not as hard as you would like it to, but with cards like Kenshin, like I said earlier, it gives you that little bit of extra damage, that little bit of extra chip damage, get a little bit of health growth back, and you also can remove units off the board if they are starting to become a threat. You can steal units. You can do what you need to do to keep control of the game. This all started on a small Twitter poll I made for what a next type of deck build would be, and people voted. Majority was, it was only like 10 votes, but whatever. A majority of it was for an Aggro 4's Shadowblade version. So I started tweaking with it, and like I said, I found cards that can also still be a part of a 4's aggro build, but also make it a more control-y type build. So we're gonna take a look at it, and I call it Hostile Control because it is an aggro build, so for the hostile, and it's definitely got some control involved. So let's take a look. I run 2 deadly traps. Returns an enemy unit with 1 or less attack to the EX pocket. Just ceasefire. It locks all the board slots for 10 seconds. Kenshin is one of the new cards, and he's a human. When he's on the field, he gives all other units +1 attack damage. And attack damage is that secret little damage. It's not going to show on your unit's attack, but when it hits, it does 1 extra point of damage. And after dealing damage to the enemy hero, he inflicts a random enemy unit with halt for 5 seconds. So he slows down their board a little bit if you can get him to hit the hero. Demonic Intimidation returns an unit with a cost 4 MP or less to the EX pocket. 2 Unforeseen Interference and negates an action that costs 3 or less. Devil Trigger gives a unit flight and agility to a friendly purple unit. A new card, Diplomacy of Love. And if your hero is purple, they gain give -1 attack and slow to all enemy units for 20 seconds. Lowers the attack, gives you a little bit of time to build up some MP or even just get some damage off. Run 2 Four Eyes. Old 4's common 4's unit. When played, if a friendly purple unit with an MP cost of 4 other than this unit is present, seize control of a random enemy unit with 3 HP or less. That works really good with Shadowblade. You chip, then steal. Lupo's an older 4's card too. When played, gains +2/+4s, or if there is a purple unit in your hand or EX pocket with an MP cost of 4. I run her at 2 because she's not as great in this deck as she could be technically. She used to be. But in an aggro build, she does have that bigger body and that little bit of a higher attack. Oro's a common 4 Ascend unit. Ascended gains +1 attack and reduces any damage taken to 1. This is really, really good, especially against decks like the GDI decks or any burn decks. That really helps keep a unit on the board longer. Run 3 Mitsune. He has agility, and attacking gives a random enemy unit -1 attack. We're using it for those 2 abilities. Memory 7 is a plus if you do have this late game because he gains +2 attack, so he becomes a 3/7. But if you have him early, drop him and go. Don't worry about that. Another new card, Yamanaka. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce the last name. I'm working on pronouncing him, but he's a growth unit. And it's a level 4, so it works perfectly within this deck, or 4 MP growth. Level 2, if 3 or less damage would be dealt, becomes 1, so he becomes a little bit of a blocker and a little bit of burn survivor with that, but his level 3 ability is really good as well. Gives enemy units -2 attack, effective for 1 attack. Again, lowers those damage, able to bounce with things like Deadly Trap. Kasuga is another new unit. She's a 1/8, she's a 4, which is amazing, and she has agility and combo. So she's going to do 2 damage on hit, and if you have Kenshin, it's going to be 4. Date Masamune is my other growth unit in the deck. Shield growth 2, gains 1 attack damage, so technically he has that hidden. Then gets +1 attack, and then gains combo and spillover. So usually you're going to drop them, you're automatically going to have them at level 3 because you're going to drop, and then you're going to drop a 4s unit, and then hopefully save for something like Kenshin or another 4s unit real quick to get him that combo and spillover. I want to run 1 T-Rex just because of rush, agility, and spillover. His downside is on Resonate, he inflicts seal on himself, but he can go and just do some damage early, and kind of, if you pull him early especially, it puts a lot of pressure on, and also he can chip the board in order to steal later. And then 1 Brainwash, seizes control of enemy unit. So that's this deck. It's like I said, it's fun, it's fast-paced, does damage, you're still able to control units on the board, remove units, remove threats by lowering their attack, bouncing them with Deadly Trap, or taking them over, or blocking the board for the opponent by using Ceasefire. Again, really, really fun. I enjoy it a lot. I'm actually looking forward to playing this after balance patches hit, because the burn damage is going to be a little bit less with the nerf to Sheva and Cody, and then Black got semi-nerfed. The Ashura Senku got semi-nerfed with the removal of instant attack and the MP gain. So let's take a look at a quick sideboard. This is just a quick sideboard I built. You could always use Jackpot because it gives -1 attack and it's a 1 MP card. If you don't have Devil Trigger, Hookshot works good too. They help Kenshin get over the top to inflict that seal, or it helps units like Kasuga do some massive damage if you have to get over the top of units, especially things like Shara's. It gets you right over the top and you won't do them any damage. Hidden Intent is another negate you can use. Negates an action that costs 5 MP or less, but it halves your hero's life, so it kind of puts you in, hey, they're going to use this huge 5 MP card action that's going to control their side. Let me negate it, and I'll hopefully be able to get out of it. Secret of Clairvoyance works. It's a -1 attack, and at memory 4, it halts the enemy unit for 5 seconds. Paloma's a send if you don't want to put Oreo in, but I do recommend Oreo over the top of that because of the being a 4 and the damage reduction. You can also use 1 or 2 Maylinks. They have agility and they can steal cards, so it gives you a little bit more of control. God Gift Waka can work in there. He's not as control-y, but he can chip on damage on the bigger units for a little bit, and then you can remove him with the Resonate. Ibuki's an okay 4 to put in here. She's a 2/6, but she gains flight on Resonate, so if you have something that you can use an action and just get her over the top. The 4 MP Hunk does good if you're running a more action-based version, because at memory 4 he gains +1/+1 in shield. You can use him instead of Lupo. If you're gonna, like I said, if you're gonna run a more action-based deck. Beltway's okay. He only bounces a 3 or less, and you're not a 3 or less MP unit. You're not seeing a lot of those anymore. He used to be better when he was a 4 MP bouncer, but he's still decent in the deck. I tried Spectre. He's okay, but he gives +1/+1 to a purple unit in your EX pocket or hand with an MP cost of 4. So if you're running all 4, Spectre works good. But with things like Kenshin and Tigrex in there, I don't recommend him so much, but he still works. If you're running a more action version, you can definitely use Trish in there because she's a Resonate +1. Legendary Hunk's good, especially if units are near death. You can drop him in there, and he gains shield. He has a shield, and he gains +1/+N every time a purple unit dies. He's good to fit in there. I just couldn't find a place for him in my more aggro build. Pookie works good because at growth 4, he again, he's a big body at 2/7, and at growth 4 he inflicts -2. Him and the other growth unit could swap in and out. Crimson Viper, okay, again, if you're going to run a more action-based version of this deck, she works good in there for the +2 HP, but again, her and Trish are getting nerfed, so again, going forward, I would not use those cards, but I built this before the balance patches were announced. Trish, if you can protect her for those 13 seconds, she definitely is a well worth card to put in there because she gains +7 HP after 13 seconds. She becomes a 4/10. Gold Diggery is becoming a good bounce again, especially if you can get stuck in a quick action chain against something like Senku deck, you can definitely bounce it out those Tyrants with Skullduggery. Dung Bomb, I could see working back in, but again, Senku decks are getting that slight nerf, and it's kind of costly to bounce it, but it is worth it to maybe carry it a 1 if you want to. So that's the deck. Let's look at it again real quick while I finish this up. But that's the deck. Let's go take a look at some games, and then we'll talk about some hands, and we'll go from there. Okay, this first game is against Shield Spire. The first couple games are going to be a decks you could see or hero arts you could see. I'm going to start off with a really aggro hand, so I'm going to roll with it. And he's going right off the bat. You could tell he's a little bit more of an aggro player because he drops early. And he's playing a little bit of a growth version, so I wait so I can get my growth unit up and see how he reduces that damage. He's removed a unit, and I've also I'm lowering attack of things here, and so I'm able to keep putting pressure. He Shield Spires up, and I'm going to keep going. I don't need to drop anything at this moment, but I see he drops the Kenshin, so I'm like, hey, we're going for it. I'm going to drop the Tigrex just to get rid of that Kenshin. And I'm not going to use actions. I don't want Tigrex's ability to go away. But he's able to remove the Tigrex. But I'm still chipping with my Kasuga in the middle lane. He's ignoring that middle lane. And then he kind of, I don't know what he expected there to remove my Kenshin. But I'm like, screw it. I'm going to give him double trigger. He can go right over the top. He seals his ability, but I still get over the top because in order chain of actions, I come second. My double trigger would go after the seal. So he surrenders, that's it. Looking at an antibody deck, you're most likely going to see a mono red. This is against a red-green, which hasn't been very effective this season, but if I jump out in front early, this game's over before it starts. Let's just put it that way. I have a way to do that. I have a way to control the board, and I have Kasuga in hand, and I have a Tigrex in case he drops something big early. He doesn't, so I'm going right into the agility, and I'm going right into the way I can control the board. The moment he drops a unit, I'm going to drop another unit to get that -2 attack. I could also seal the board and just run it out at this point. He drops Cammy, and as you can see, right there, I literally removed the threat of her damage right away. She had no chance. And at this point, it's already over. So again, you get out in front early with this deck, you force people to make plays, and then you control with the counters. This one's against the meta deck, GDI. So GDI is rampant, and I have a way to mitigate some damage. There's a little bit different version. He's going for the sneak attack version that I've seen lately, where they chip the hero and then they build up GDI to use it more often. And right off the bat, we're gonna remove some damage, pressure, and he's just gonna keep going after using the actions. So he's building up for a big attack. So I'm just hoping to get some agility here. I dropped the Kenshin to get extra damage right off the bat. I see the Axel. I don't want Axel taking a unit, so I just bounce him back real quick. He drops the Ryu instead, and Kenshin's going to work on the bottom lane. He's halting things. And now I'm literally just saving up for that Tigrex to then control the middle lane. Shadow Blade that Ryu, and it's game at this point. There's nothing he can do. He couldn't even get off a hero art, even with using things to build it up faster. So there's that game. Next game is against Ouroboros. I'm looking at it, and you got to look at what it's going to be. Is it going to be the Tyrant version? Most likely. So again, here I have agility, and I have a way to steal, and I have a bigger unit to use off the bat. Again, you need to use Lupo when there's another 4 MP in the pocket, though, so that's why sometimes she can drown your hand. Right off the bat, he goes with the Devil Joe, so he's not using a bigger version, but he's going to remove. Kind of busted my strategy for a second, so now I have to wait a little bit longer because I'm going to use 4 Eyes to steal that Devil Joe. And as you can see, I've now taken full control of the board. He's going to remove my Kasuga. That's fine. I'm stuck with actions here, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to seal your board in the process. Just trying to get another unit in there. I'm kind of stuck. I was kind of stuck with actions at this point. So I'm trying to play through it. I get stuck again. So I gotta hope he drops something that I can mess with. At this point, I'm going to have to just pretty much wait it out. So that's why I use the agility and I use the double trigger there so that I can keep going. Because I didn't have a way that I can fight out of this if I left that. Because he's going to drop something that's not 4 MP. He's going to drop something that I can't work and my board's going to be locked. So I had to get lucky and pull a card. And at this point, I'm getting kind of action heavy, and this is not an action heavy deck. I choose to bounce the card he brings back, and then I get a negate. So as you can see, I'm trying to cycle through real quick to get some units in the deck. I don't have any units at the moment, so I'm just trying to cycle through. And I'm saving because I'm waiting for him to drop that big unit I bounced back. And I'm going to take it. And if he uses Selfish Predation, go right ahead. The reason I used Shadow Blade there was to get a little bit of damage back, and then I'm hoping to drop in the lane in front of him and then block. But as you can see, I'm still kind of stuck here because of the Lupo. But Lupo can chip out, and so I let her chip out. And now I have enough to start to get a little bit of a lane going here. I decided to use my hero buff card, and it helps out because as you can see, everything's down to a -2. I Shadow Blade the bottom lane because that's going to give me an opportunity to remove the whole board. And right there, you can see I drop another unit, the -2 attack. He can't do any damage to me, and I'm able to win it out. Raging Demon's very popular in this meta. This and Senku are probably the two majority of the best black decks played. So again, I have an aggro hand and a control hand at the same time, so I'm going to roll with it. I'm just literally going to wait out till I can at least get some buffs going. And I drop Kenshin first because I want to get that damage going, but he removes it, which is fine. I drop Aura over the top because I want to keep the lane pressure and steal. So I steal that uni, and now I've got control of the board. Even though I have a 4 eyes, but I can drop the Aura over the 4 eyes. But right now I'm just literally holding on because I'm waiting for him to pull that Living Death. I don't see it right away, so I drop that second Aura. I'm not going to let him set up and bring any 5 MP units back, or get a little bit of a buff. Again, see, so here's the more control aspect of this deck. He gets to use his hero art. I'm bouncing things out. And I'm just going to wait. And then I'm going to want to steal. And again, if he Selfish Predation's out of it, oh well. It's removing a threat from the board. And 2, if he doesn't, I get a unit. So he uses Akuma. Basically removes whatever is in front of him. I'm going to remove that Akuma because I don't want 6 damage being hit on me. And I gained a little bit of control with Tigrex. And as you can see, that Tigrex with that Kenshin buff is really, really good. I mistimed this because I thought he was going to ascend over the top. Oh well. I really mistimed that drop, and I kind of nerfed my Tigrex in the process. I have 2 Kenshins on the board. He wants to remove that damage just to stay alive longer. I negate it. He's trying to remove my Kenshin. Luckily, I was able to pull that extra bounce to save me and stop him and give my Kenshin agility and flight. So now I can just go right over the top. I drop a Lupo as extra measure, but Kenshin's going to win that game. And the next game, Ashura Senku, the big thing in the room. Yes, it's going to get nerfed, but it's still going to be a problem going forward. I have an aggro / control hand. I'm able to bounce if I need to. I also have a way to lower attack 2 different ways, and I have Lupo I can drop to get some damage. Excuse me. Right off the bat, he obliterates. Fine with me. Remove that unit. I don't want you to remove my bigger units later. He has a second Obliterate, so I have no units on the board, but now I have an aggro board. I can legit aggro out of this now. I have 2 agility units that can deal damage. As you can notice, I'm saving my MP before I make a drop, so it at least can respond with the 3-cost action. And this is the thing. Orochi is going to do some damage. And that's just the way he is. I'm going to slow Orochi down so he doesn't get that in. And his mistake was removing Kasuga. Because look, I could ship that Orochi down to almost nothing. I negate the Bloodbath, which would have been bad for me. But look, I'm still... This Orochi is not a problem at this point. He's losing that attack. He's not able to do anything. So... Cool. And then I see here, he's going to try to remove that. Nope, I'm going to negate it. But I decided to bounce the Tyrant. Yes, is he going to hit me hard at least once or twice? Yeah. I chip here just to get a little bit of health back. I didn't have to, and I go to lock the board so he can't put that Tyrant back down, and I could walk right out of it. So that's the deck. Again, super fun, super fast. You got some control in it. Again, it just kind of all fell together as I started looking into some of the control type cards or the force cards, and it kind of just played out that way. So that's going to be this portion. I'm going to take a quick look at some hands and explain why I never mulligan the hands. So let's go take a look. Okay, so in the Shield Spire game, again, I didn't need to mulligan. I have 3 agility units, 3 pressure units right off the bat. I also have 2 control units and an ability to steal and an ability to lower attack. There was no need to switch this hand, and it was a get up and go. I could have dropped Tigrex early, but like you could have dropped Kasuga, you could have dropped Mitsune. You could have responded to anything that Shield Spire Feline dropped. In the next one, in the Jill game, again, I have 2 ways to lower attack. I have a Tigrex for massive aggression to start, and I also have a Kasuga to do even a little bit of a lower aggression, but easier to respond quickly. And I have a way to bounce those low MP units back to the pocket. So it's kind of there. That was a perfect hand. I didn't need to switch. You'll see that these deck gets very consistent hands to what you want to do. You just have to work with what you got, and you have to respond correctly. In the Amaterasu game, again, 2 agility units, 2 control units, and a board control unit. Or a board control action, I should say, not unit. So very, very strong opening hand. I could respond to anything that they gave me and make a good judgment based off what he drops. In the Wesker game, not so much of an aggro hand, even though I do have Mitsune, but this is a control hand. I could drop Lupo to chip first, and then drop 4 Ice to steal, or I can drop Mitsune to lower the attack and then bounce with deadly traps. So there was options here to work with. It's more of a control hand to start, but it was definitely a good starting hand to not have to mulligan out of. In the Raging Demon game, again, it's more of a control hand on this point. You have everything. You have 3 ways to lower attack Mitsune, but he also has agility. And with Kenshin, he gets a little bit of a buff, so he would be hitting for 2. Excuse me. And you also have a board control because you can remove the unit with deadly traps once their attack drops to 1 or less. And in the Ashura Senku game, massive control hand. There's lowering attack. There's 2 ways to lower attack. There's a way to bounce. Actually, there's 3 ways to lower attack because there's the board control with the devotion card, and then you have a bigger hitter with Lupo. So there's that. Like I said, this deck comes with very consistent hands. It's very fun to play. But that's it, guys. Thank you for taking the time to watch this one. The balance changes are coming next week, so we'll see how they do. We'll see how the meta shifts after that. I'll be back next week with another video. I'll probably make another deck, and we'll have some fun. So take care, guys. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you later.